for you, when you teach your patients what normal part of aging is, what do you say to them?
Yeah, so aging is a normal process. It is like a development, or there's are stages, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I always incorporate to them. There's a normal, some changes, because our life, our body is changing, especially our, let's say, musculoskeletal, our strength.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a little bit slow in your walking, you can a little bit stiff in some ways, and your heart and vessels a little bit. But that's the goal, is like you need to always think that it should be in a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an you can say that in after 3 years I am a little bit slower. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an aging. But if you're saying that last week I was able to do this and I cannot do it now this week, so that's not normal, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So aging should be a slow process, and then we can always say that aging should be in a different level. They said they have 5 stages, like independence, interindependence, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, it's a process like you are going to change slowly. But falls is not a normal part of aging. And that's what I always say to them. And dementia is not a normal part of aging.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing loss, you will say, oh, it's normal because I am old already, so I can. There will be increase of hearing deficits, visual deficit, is slowly, so as time passed by. And those changes, especially in our body, in the strength, even the graying of hair, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
some of those are like, it depends on the lifestyle of the person, it depends on their genetics, so their genes, and also those your body itself.
Mm-hmm.
Age, they keep saying, right? Age is just a number. If we
Right.
keep saying shout out to also our Dustin Jones, old, not weak, or like that. So we need to have these changes that when you say age, you should be old. No,
Mm-hmm.
aging is not always like that, and we need to prevent these ages and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
we need to adapt in these things. We always need to break that these things, what I've said, falls, dementia, things like that, those are not a normal part of aging. So we need to know. Hearing, let's say the eyes, it can be blurred in some ways
Mm-hmm.
because of our also even the presbycusis, the hearing deficits, things like that. So we can be slowed. So that's the reason why we incorporate geriatric physical therapy. We always educate our clients, go to your physical therapist, and we always educate them that this is not normal and you can improve that. You are aware, Johan, that there are 75 year old in the marathon. We have a weightlifter in those ages with older adults. So
Mm-hmm.
it can be changed, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with proper education and amplification that this exists. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. When I was doing home health back in the East Coast, I would see patients that are independent to their 90s, and it only took one fall for them to, be dependent. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, as you were saying, age is just a number, and people can be independent up to that age without,
Yeah.
without any assistive device, without any support from anyone. So, as you mentioned, that falls is not a normal part of aging. These
Yeah.
are things that can be prevented with the help of being active, physical activity, and your physical therapists. So even if even before getting that accident or that incident, it would be beneficial for an older adult to see a physical therapist, just to see what aspects of function they can improve on, just to help at least lessen those risks. We can't
Yeah.
really like say that eliminate the risk, but at least
Yes.
lessen
Mhm.
those risks.
Decrease the risk
Hmm.
of falls. So
Yeah.
it is preventable. Falls is preventable. We have lots of resources from CDC, the
Hmm.
study guide. So even dementia can slow. Dementia is the disease already.
Hmm.
So it is the condition. So it's not. compared like you're being forgetful. There's a gray area that if you forget your keys and then you just forget something, but it's normal.
Mhm.
But having dementia, which you're affected your function, you're
Mhm.
unable to process your balance accounts, things like that, unable to drive, unable
Mhm.
to do your daily living. So that is not already the disease. So those are you have some affectation already that
Right.
needs to be dealt. So but something like you forgot and intentional, let's say I just want to forget yon. So that's different, right? So
Mhm.
that's intentional. So
Right.
something like that, we need to learn about those things.
That's true. Because since dementia, the term dementia has been popular nowadays, it's been thrown around already like, oh, I already have dementia. I mean, people should distinguish senility from, I mean, dementia, being senile. It's sometimes, kind it's something like that. You forget things that, you forget your car keys or yeah. So it's intermittent, it's not like regular, and it's not worsening. So dementia is you for also forget, some executive function there. So yeah,
Yes.
for you, what are the significant roles of physical therapists in the ICU for the patients?
I mean, the value, the importance of being able to sit up, hold your head up, walk, um, breathe independently. I didn't understand, now we know that sitting up and moving improves lung aeration and secretion mobilization. Didn't understand that as a nurse, but physical therapists do.
Mhm.
So they're the ones that are making sure that while we're treating these acute processes, that we're not creating more chronic problems.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, they're the ones making sure that once the lungs are healed, that the rest of the body is ready to do the breathing and and to make sure that they can actually resume their lives. I just have learned so much from physical therapists how they see and they know these patients as humans. I remember we had a COVID patient that just was pretty despondent, didn't want to do anything, and I saw physical therapy go in with a bedpan and a cane, and I was like, what are you doing there? And she's like, we're gonna play golf. I learned from the family that he likes to golf. So we're going to golf with a bedpan and a cane. And that's how she got him to stand for like 20 minutes and
Oh
golf and actually
wow.
engage.
Mhm.
They're the cheerleaders. They bring morale. These patients are looking at the same wall for days and they can feel really helpless. I mean, they're just stuck in that room. Their lives are on the line. But when they work with physical therapy, they feel human again. They connect. They feel like they're actually engaging in their care and they're making progress. Physical therapy comes in and says, what song do you want to listen to when we walk? They bring in so much humanity into the ICU that doesn't exist when patients are just sedated, flaccid zombies in the bed. And they're the ones that make it possible for patients to actually get off the ventilator and walk out the doors and resume their lives. And that's the focus that they have that I think the rest of the team doesn't always have, because we're trying to fix a kidney or a liver or treat an infection, but physical therapists are the ones saying, hey, this is a human. They have a life to get back to. Let's make sure we give them a life worth living while we're saving their lives.
Right. So how does a physical therapist work with you and the team in the ICU? How's the dynamics there? Do the physical therapists tell you, oh, we're planning to see this patient at this time? Is this a good time for him to get off sedation or something like that?
Yeah, that totally depends on the team. And
Mhm.
in this awake and walking ICU, patients aren't sedated.
Oh, so
So,
yeah.
but it is important to coordinate around procedures,
Mhm.
tests, things that are going on to facilitate ambulating all of our patients 3 times a day. It takes a lot of collaboration. So at the beginning of the shift, the nurses have a powwow and they say, okay, so-and-so has an MRI, so-and-so has this procedure. They coordinate and they say, who's going to go first, who's going to walk first. A lot of times nurses already have their patients up in a chair. And everyone just kind of jumps in and helps. So that culture makes it so much easier for physical therapy to just come in and get their job done. As a nurse practitioner, the physical therapist comes and gives me a report on everyone, tells me how far they walked, if they saw any changes. They do assessments that my 10 minutes in the room, I wouldn't have noticed these early signs of delirium or questionable stroke. They do a lot of engagement with all parts of the team, and I definitely listen to any concern they have, any idea they have. I value their input so much because I know so deeply these patients, and they're assessing them the whole time. And so they have a close bond with the respiratory therapists and the nurses, and they coordinate when they're going to walk, how to make it happen. And we think about walking patients on ventilators as requiring like 8 people and lifts and this huge effort. The difference is, and this will be done to you, but not necessarily to nurses all the time, is that when you walk a patient a few hours after intubation, they don't become a huge fall risk. You're not having to like lift them out of bed. They flip themselves out of bed and get up, and you're just basically holding the tubes. So it's really not so dangerous or technical. So in the evenings, it's actually the nurses and the respiratory therapists walking the patients, even when physical therapy isn't there.
Okay.
But you really see like the intricate skill level when you do have patients coming from an outside facility that has been sedated for a week or two, and they still get them up and they hustle them, even on high ventilator settings. My jaw always drops. I'm like, how did you get that super weak patient walking 200 feet within the last 3 days? Like, how did you do that? I mean, that is magic. You guys are experts in this. But it's because they've really built this relationship of trust, education, sharing information, mutual support with each member of their team.
So aside from psyching your mind thinking of your why sa pag-start ng journey, ano pa yung ibang steps or tips that you can give to someone who's listening na probably baka gusto nilang simulan or they're considering to do this journey, the firefight journey?
Siguro first step is to see where you are, where you are in the present.
Yeah.
Kung gusto mo itong i-pursue. So you have to know your net worth. So
Sabi nga ni Vicky Robin, you have to shame yourself first.
Shame yourself.
Oo, kasi you have to face the reality na. Kasi wala lang akong ginastos. Pero pag nakikita mo pala sa spreadsheet, pag in-excel mo na lahat, pag trinak mo na lahat, hala, ito lang yung kita ko. Pero bakit ganito yung expenses ko? You have to have that, talagang realization
para
na.
bang come to Jesus moment na.
What am I doing with my life? Yes, I'm still young. I'm still, yung career ko talaga nagpo-progress. So I don't think I need to worry about money. Pero kailangan mo lang siya upuan at kailangan mo lang,
know the net worth, and then compute. I think very important yung budget. Sa iba, tinatawag nila na, may mga vloggers na tinatawag na conscious spending plan.
Conscious spending plan.
Kasi sa iba, medyo masakit yung budget parang
conscious spending plan, pares lang yan.
Parang limiting. Pero you have to track. Because what cannot be measured cannot be improved. Ginagawa din natin yan sa PT, diba? Kaya kami mga ronyo. So kailangan i-measure mo kung ano yung pumapasok, lumalabas, how much you are saving. Then from there, I think the logical step is to put a decent enough margin, kumbaga emergency savings. Para meron ka bang, para magkaroon ka ng power, or freedom, or option na kunyari meron kang trabaho na hindi gusto, hindi talaga para sa iyo, you're stressed out. You can say no because you know that you have an emergency cushion to back you up.
Right. Alright, good tips.
Tapos start pag-open ng mga investment account. Like, I think nag-start kami, aside sa 401 sa Roth, yung Wealthfront, parang automatic robo siya So,
robo-investing.
So, kahit maglagay ka lang ng kaunti doon, tapos paunti-unti, mag-save ka ng portion of your money and ang income mo doon, tapos i-automate mo lang. Sa amin, lahat automatic. So, lahat ng investments automatic. If we're planning to save for our new for a real estate ulit na bagong property na bibilin, automatic yun. So, like sa amin, mag-asawa kami, di ba? Hindi join lahat ng namin. So, meron akong basket, may basket siya, may basket.
Hindi ba kami
kami.
join ng fund, ng pera? Hindi namin pinag...
Oo. So, may basket kaming isa na doon namin nilalagay lahat ng pang-invest namin. Ganon. So, Depende sa kung paano yung gagawin. Pero it's a tip para kasi hindi maging problem din yung money sa mga couples din.
Etong lahat to, ni-research nyo to or did you hire a financial advisor o lahat to do it yourself, self-research? Mga ginagawa nyo?
Mostly do it yourself. Kagaya ni-research namin, tapos usually tinatry namin muna in small increments yung natututunan namin. And then eventually pag nakita namin na nag-work, then we apply it. Pag hindi, we discard it. Ang ma-apply namin yan talaga sa real estate kasi gusto namin matuto talaga sa real estate investing kasi isa siya sa good passive income para mas kami in the future. So, nag-assign kami ba ng fund na parang, sige, ibuhos natin tong fund na to para...
Sabi ito yung school namin ng ng real estate. Kasi iba yung naririnig mo lang, natututunan mo lang. Iba pagka, ina-apply mo na.
Tama.
So parang kami, sige, ito yung school namin. Napakamahal naman ng school na to. Pero sige, tapos
bumili nga kami ng bahay.
So syempre may mga challenges doon. Hindi naman lahat mag-work. Hindi lahat talagang kukuha ka lang ng kukubra ka lang ng kukubra ng pera. Hindi. So kailangan kung nagbabala ka din ng real estate, meron ka ring fund for that na hindi na-apektuhan yung person.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Kasi ang ginawa namin with this real estate education is meron kaming fund na if ever na mag-fail man, hopefully, fortunately, hindi pa naman nag-fail, is hindi kami ba maapektuhan.
Right. So anyone who's interested to get into this fire movement or journey can research on things and look into himself or herself kung ano ba talaga kung bagay talaga sa kanila yung ganitong lifestyle.
Usually kami ang kino-consume namin is financial independence na podcast. Ang usually ang first na podcast na pinakinggan ko is How to Money podcast. And then from there na-discover ko na yung mga ibang podcast, Choose FI podcast. Tas Mad Scientist, usually pag nakakita ka ng isa tapos talagang interested ka, mara-rabbit hole ka talaga. Hindi mo alam kung saan ka pupunta.
We'll get lost na talaga yung mga suggestions after merong mga podcast na suggestions after.
Kasi ma-realize mo na pwede ko nga i-apply yun tingnan ko nga kung i-apply ko. gumana. O sinabi nito, minsan may mga conflicting, itatry mo naman yung isa tapos itatry mo naman yung kabila. So just do your research. We rarely do everything that one financial independence blogger advises. Is usually a mix. So
same goes sa mga libro. When you read a book or pag nagbabasa ka, hindi naman lahat na nakasulat yun, susundin mo lahat, di ba? You just choose whatever will help you sa life mo. So ganun lang din mga napapakinggan namin. Kung ano lang yung mga tingin namin, try natin to. Okay. Hindi lahat. So pipiliin mo lang.
Talking about the cost earlier, what's the average salary of a physiotherapist in Canada?
If you start off as an resident physio and then you work in a private clinic, it goes around sa Ontario. It can be like around 30 to 35 Canadian dollars per hour. And then it goes higher. The farther you are or sa mas liblib ka na lugar, the higher your sweldo can be. So the highest I've heard is like if you go to Northern Ontario where wala nang tao, so hindi ko alam kung sinong piniphysio nila doon, you can go as high as $60, $70 per hour.
Not bad. That's a private practice? Outpatient?
Yep. And then it's higher. I guess it's higher than in hospitals kasi plus you get more benefits when you work in the hospitals anyway. And then you can get like mga 35 to 40, 45 pagka independent physio ka na.
30 to 45. 30 is $23 US dollars and 45 Canadian dollars is 35 US dollars for private practice.
Yeah.
But if the higher range would be 70 Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
55 USD. That's okay naman din.
may ano lang, syempre may constraints lang kasi it's Canada. It's so cold over there. So, I don't know, hindi ko, like, hindi justifiable sa akin yung ganung kataas na sweldo and then ganun yung living temperature ko. Like, okay na ako dito.
Pero how's the cost of living naman dyan? Malaki ba or kaya naman with a physiotherapist na sweldo?
Kaya talaga. Pero siguro province ano din, mas mahal sa West Coast compare sa amin. So I don't drive pero lagi akong aware sa gas prices. Di ko alam kung bakit. And then sa West Coast, it goes yung gas nila doon siguro nasa $1.50, $1.60 ganon. And then
$1
per ano ba? Hindi ko alam. Basta nasa ganun. And then sa amin naman nasa $1.30, $1.35. Basta mababa kumpara sa kanila. That's why I always ask my friend kasi yung close friend ko nandun siya. I always ask him kung like do you have plans on like driving car over there kasi grabe yung gas nyo, hindi makatarungan.
Per liter.
Okay, so yun pala yun.
Sabi ko, $1 lang. Tapos kami,
naman,
$4.
So yun pala, per liter.
Per liter. Sa amin kasi per gallon. So sa amin,
Okay.
$4 per gallon. For almost 5 na dito sa amin per gallon. Nagulat naman ako. Ang mura naman, niliwan ako dyan.
Okay, come here.
Before
So,
kasi nung nasa Maryland ako sa East Coast, pagkadating ko dito, the gas prices there was parang $1.80 parang to $1.99 lang per gallon na yun like
mas mura pala doon. Lipat tayo doon.
mas mura sa amin.
Oh.
Pero nagmahal na siya ngayon. Ngayon $4. Well, dito sa California kasi mahal $4 dito.
Yeah. And I guess it's always like that na the places where mas okay yung temperature, mas mahal yung living cost doon. Kumpara kasi kunwari Alberta sa amin, it's an okay province, pero everything about there is cheaper. Tuition fee is cheaper, taxes is cheaper over there, gases is cheaper. So I guess kasi mas malala din yung weather conditions naman nila. Yeah. So when they say na winter in Canada lasts for about like more than a year, totoo yun. Magsa-summer lang siguro na mga 2-3 months summer and then after nun winter na lahat, ganun.
Okay. So kung mahilig ka sa malamig, dyan ka.
Yes. Dito ka. Welcome.
So yun, sir. We heard Ma'am Archell that she, you collaborate, you talk and made a plan which is tailor-made for you. And how important was that she talked to you about your goal? She talked to you about what you want at the end of the rehabilitation, and how did that affect your motivation as well? So first question would be, how important was it for you that she was able to consider what your goal was, and also how did that motivate you in reaching those goals?
Okay. First of all, when we started, she told me you just have to trust the process, and that got stuck in my head. So yeah, I basically just trust the process. What motivated me is how she dealt with me. I mean, how she's dealing with me actually. The way she deals with her patient, I mean, she goes along with the character of the patient. That's hard. That's not easy. The patient is, I mean, should I say crazy? I mean, she's gonna be crazy too. She's gonna act crazy too. It's kind of like you jump, I jump kind of thing.
Good.
And the way she did the process. It's very impressive. So, I mean, she didn't do the process. She didn't give me any programs that's not gonna fit me, or that's not that I cannot do. That's why I'm really impressed about the way she makes a program. And every time she sees me, she updates the program, right? Martin? Like she changes the program suit my to suit my needs. Yeah,
Right.
in the universe, I told you.
Right. Yes po, ma'am.
May I also, thank you for that. Well, sweet mo ngayon na. Hindi ka ganyan na. Actually, we really, sobrang tagal na namin magkasama. In fact, before we started the program, one of the challenge I gave him was that, kasi nga walking yung problema namin initially. Sabi ko sa kanya, certain, I'll be married soon. And can I invite you as one of my godfather? Kasi ang ultimate goal namin, other than him, cycling, is to walk down the aisle as one of my ninong. Pero at least, my goal. So, nangyari naman, unfortunately, because of pandemic, hindi siya naka-attend. Kasi nga, that time, nagkaroon ng COVID surge, which is understandable. Anyway, yun, you really, ako as Phys PT, I'm really blessed kasi nga we bonded. Ayan, nasasakyan niya yung mga jokes namin ng isa't isa. So yun lang nga, kailangan ko rin maging crazy kasi super crazy talaga si Sir Ted. Easily got bored. And easily gets bored. Yeah, that's the thing about Sir Ted. He easily gets bored. That's why we have to constantly change the program and all. But then there's one thing that he really hated when we had his therapy, and that's the treatment for his hand, the constraint-induced movement therapy. So,
all right.
Ginawa ko yung CIMP sa kanya because that time he has a caregiver and I took advantage of it kasi merong magbabantay. That program cannot be applied to everyone kasi nga it has to be constantly monitored. So I think that part of the recovery, yan yung nainis siya ng sobra. Pero, pero I think nakatulong ng sobra kasi look at your left hand. Pakita mo, yung left hand mo. Dati meron yung mga abnormal syndrome, the typical stroke, the typical presentation of stroke, pero ngayon nananampal na yan.
may fine prehensions na.
I cannot let go of a glass of water. If they ask for it, I cannot let go of it.
Oh, okay.
Pero kaya mo, nakakasuntok na to.
Tell us, how did you prepare for the exam? Tingnan natin, pag-usapan siguro natin yung ano yung ginawa mo to reach that certain level of siyempre, being top-notcher. Ano yung mga preparations mo? Study habits siguro?
For me, nakatulong talaga sa akin yung mga review centers. So, sinundan ko lang talaga yung flow nila kung ano yung lecture for the day, and I take yung pre- and post quizzes nila. Pero since kami nga yung batch na tinamaan ng pandemic, plus 3 board exam postponements pa yung nangyari, mas marami talaga akong time na review nun. Kasi nakailang batch ako ng review center nun. Parang more than a year kasi ako nakapag-review eh. So every cancellation, we would take naman yung mga study breaks. After nun, another study schedule na naman, parang refresh na naman. So it was really exhausting din kasi talaga mentally tiring din kasi lalo na lockdown. We didn't have much freedom to unwind during that time. And for my study habits, I guess, lagi ako gumagawa ng schedule ko. Parang paiba-iba siya. Yung ginagawa ko timeline for the day. Kung anong oras ako gigising, how many hours ilalaan ko for studying, then anong oras ako matutulog. So, depende na lang talaga siguro yun sa'yo kung mas nakakaaral ka ng gabi or morning. Kasi for me, I study late at night. So, siguro binago ko lang yun nung ng board exam na. Kasi maaga yung exam. So, tinry ko mag-aral na in the morning para hindi ako makatulog.
I see. So, ito ginawa mo, simula pa lang preparation for the supposedly first na exam pa lang dapat na schedule bago ma-postpone. Tapos inulit-ulit mo lang siya kada repeat.
Nung una po, yun yung talaga yung pinakamasipag ko na batch. Yung first. Tapos yung second, medyo patamad na ng patamad. Pero yun nga, kaya naman. Kasi habang tumatagal naman, parang medyo na ma-memorize mo na siya kasi parang paulit-ulit lang din naman yung inaaral.
Sabi nga na repetition is really good for recall. Yung study habits mo, is it the same as when you were a student or parang nag-rev up ka lang ng study habits when you were preparing for your licensure exam?
Nung student kasi ako, medyo book-based pa ako ng student. Mahilig talaga ako yung mga nagbabasa ng libro, yung mga hina-highlight ko talaga yung mga libro. Nung board exam na ako, nung unang batch talaga originally, ang bala ko is, yun nga, yun sa review center na lang talaga. Pero yun nga, kasi matagal, nakuha rin ako ng time na magbasa ng onting books. Pero siguro ang suggestion ko, kasi hindi naman lahat na mag-board exam, katulad namin siguro na 1 year ang preparation. Siguro talagang na lang, yung sa review center, kasi 5 years mo naman siya inaral eh. So, tiwala ka na lang na maalala mo talaga yung mga inaral mo before.
Tama. So, aside from the review center's material, did you use any other study materials or review materials during your preparation?
Nung nag-review kasi ako, pinaka lagi ko talagang ginagamit is yung flashcards, lalo na yung app, yung Anki na app. I don't know if alam nung iba yun, pero meron siya sa mobile phone mo or sa laptop mo na app eh. So if kunyari aalis ka, nagigilty ka, hindi ka nag-aaral sa labas or ganun. So pwede mo mag-flashcards ka lang. Kasi doon ko nilalagay yung mga pre- and post-quizzes na question ng review center. And yung mga book review questions, yung mga guides, yung mga ganun, yung mga sikat na book review questions ng physical therapy. Doon ko siya nilagay lahat. So, every time na magpa-flashcards ako, pipili lang ako kung anong book review gusto kong aralin for the day. And what I like about it, kasi pwede siyang ma-adjust na pag lagi mo siyang nasasagot na tama, mas less siya magpapakita. And pag lagi mo siya nakakamali, mas more siya ilalabas until ma-master mo siya. So, yun talaga yung ginamit ko. And nung malapit na yung board review din, like flashcards na lang ako para ma-refresh lang.